Hi, it's Terry with Terry Murphy Communications. How to make you the rock star of any presentation and helping you to communicate with power and impact. And today I want to share a story with you about exclusions or inclusions. And it was several years ago, I was giving a dinner party for two couples with their wives, and the wives were good friends and they were chatting. And eventually I realized that I was not included in that conversation. It was very hurtful. And I thought, well, maybe I said something that was uncomfortable or whatever, but they were totally into their own conversation and I was totally their server. That was hurtful. And I thought, why would we want to make someone feel excluded? Well, sometimes we do it unintentionally, whether it's presenting to a group or in a conversation with your team members, your office, your classmates, whatever. But at the end of the day, no one needs to be excluded, even if they're completely out of left field. So let's talk about how we do that. The first one is what we call terms of art, using jargon or language that people don't understand. Now, this would happen more in a professional setting than in a personal setting because generally we don't use terms of art. But they could be in a legal situation using a word that no one really understands unless you're with other attorneys. And if you're one of those people that is not, like their client, you feel left out. Or it might be a medical term, or it could just be a term that is indicative of your profession. Always use that term of art, but use what it is first. So you might say, well, that's just a fancy word for X. That makes me feel included and recognized. Very important. The second one is interrupting and talking over others. Nothing is more irritating to us other than consciously when people overtalk over someone else. First of all, you can't hear them. Second of all, it's very discordant. And third of all, it doesn't do anybody any good because no one can hear. Bottom line is when somebody says something and you have a thought and you think, boy, I don't want to forget that thought. Just hold it for a second, look them in the eye and say, you know what, I've got a thought about that. After they're done speaking, can we share it? That gives everybody a moment to breathe. And it gives you a chance to reorganize what you wanted to say, especially if you think you might forget. Never, I would say never, but don't ever not recognize other people's contributions, even if they're not good ideas. I mean, you can at least say, you know what, I understand where you're going with that, but what do you consider doing this? Or would the outcome be the same if we did this? You want to encourage participation if you're in any kind of a communication situation, whether it's business, personal, or with clients or customers, because people want to contribute and they may have a perspective that you may never think about, especially generationally. How you pace your tone. Let's talk about that for a second. I definitely am a high I. That means you can pretty much tell what I'm thinking about. I use gestures. I have energy that shows. There are those people who have quieter, slower reactions, and that's a different behavioral style if you study DISC. My goal is to include everyone. So if I know that, I want to take a pause and restate in a way that gives people time to kind of process it. Sometimes when you're talking to someone, you don't get any kind of reaction, and you're like, hey, where are you? Bottom line is they may be processing what you're saying. Be gracious. Give them the opportunity to do that and recognize from emotional intelligence that not everyone thinks in the same pace that you do. And that isn't good or bad. It's just different. Body language cues are really important here. Rolling your eyes will definitely send a message. Looking around, rubbernecking, not really great influence. When you are really irresistible, when people just want to be with you, it's because they understand that you're listening to them. Listening is just one of the most important things. Your kids want to be listened to. Your dog wants to be listened to. Everybody wants to be heard. Do yourself a favor and be on purpose and listen today. Your family may think you're something's going on. Your significant other may think you're having an affair, but it's really all about listening, giving you my attention. The one thing we can do in life that really carries on that connection, which is what we're looking for. Watch your tone. If you're with people who are very, very quiet and you're generally bigger, you might want to pace a little bit better. That will give people the opportunity to feel like they're included, as opposed to trying to maybe perhaps judge that you're too loud. Be advised that some people can't hear, and so they can't hear themselves either. But it's just something you want to be aware of when you are in a situation that calls for communication. And always acknowledge people in conversation. Even if they're walking up to you, let's just say you're at an event or a meeting and you're talking with some people and someone walks up. That happens even in a store, where you walk up and the woman totally, or whoever the person is, ignores you. At least acknowledge with your body, I'll get back to you. It's all about connection. People want to be seen, valued, and heard. And when you're a great communicator, it's not about just how you present, it's how other people present to you and how you manage that response. So women especially can be responsive, and we can also be reactive. And so what we do is pay attention to the response before we react. It's another tip on how to communicate like a rock star. I'm Terri Murphy. I invite you to get my ebook on the 10 top tips to make you the rock star of your next presentation. And for presentation skill training or coaching, just give me an email at terri@terrimurphy.com. This week, make sure that you include versus exclude. It'll make you more approachable and irresistible. Have a great week.